Yeah, I can see. Hare Krishna. So when I need to change the PowerPoint, I'll just raise my hand, okay? Okay, good. Okay, so let's go. Well, are we all ready? Let's go. Thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Jamunatira Vanachari Jamunatira Vanachari Jayo Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandanam Vraja Janaranjanam Yashodanandana Janaranjanam Yamunatira Vanachari Jamunatira Vanachari Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. So, can you hear me? I need to adjust this microphone. Maybe, yeah. Oh. Okay. Yeah. All right. So thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to share with such a noble congregation in Seattle. So many mature devotees, so many interesting families inserted and seeking for spiritual truth. I was very enlightened to see how much service all this congregation does. So congratulations. And for me, it's a privilege to be here in front of all of you. I've heard a lot about this temple. I've heard a lot of this temple from Harivilas Prabhu, or Maharaj, as it's called now, after he became an initiating guru. And I was especially interested to see his projects with nature, agriculture, cow protection, all those activities. My name is Kalakantha Das. I presently serve as a minister for cow protection agriculture in ISKCON. My service is to travel and to help the farms, the projects, the congregations which want to protect the cows. And I've been doing this for the last 4 years. I've done more or less 4 world tours. This is my 4th tour around the world, going to many projects. I have mostly covered all of ISKCON farm farms and projects by now. So that's been a long trip. And now we are getting ready to make a plan of action. And today we're going to explore what is the importance of cow protection, thinking that most of you live in a congregation life, in a house or apartment, where it's very hard to have a cow. Isn't it? Can you imagine to put a cow in your house today? Yes? In your bedroom, in the backyard. It's not really easy, right? So there are many ways we can participate, we can integrate with this mission. So we're going to explore some of the aspects that entails. Yeah? Is anybody coming like for the first time, or everybody's just coming for a long time? Everybody's here for your members, mature members. That's great. Okay. So my department is called ISKCON Ministry for Cow Protection Agriculture. It's called IMCPA. And we are starting to make proposals. Prabhuji. So there's a letter to Yashomati Nandana Prabhu. He's in Ahmedabad, and Prabhupada wrote that letter in 76 to tell him what is this element of cow protection agriculture, what is this all about. Okay? Okay, so here is what he thinks. Do we have an extra mic? Yes, we have. It's right here. Someone would like to read where it says there. Okay, while he's getting the mic, let me ask a simple question while he's getting the mic going. Does anybody here have a garden, does some farming, have cows? Nobody, right? Okay, so good, so good. This is for you. This is for you. Great, but your project, Seattle, is starting to think about this topic in a serious way. At the moment, you have 2 farms. I visited both of them, and there are beautiful cows in both farms. In one there are Gir cows, and the other there are some Guernsey cows. Yes, I've seen them, and they look very beautiful. Okay, so would you like to read that? Yeah.
Where there is a agriculture, there must be cows.
Okay. Here Prabhupada is defining what he talks about cow protection. Cow protection is not just taking care of the cows, doing a little patting on the cows. That's part of it. But wherever there is agriculture, there must be cows. Therefore, where there are cows, there must be agriculture. And we're going to explore this a little more.
That is our mission.
Can you see? Prabhupada is not saying that this is something that is secondary. That is our mission.
Cow protection and agriculture, and if there is excess trade.
Okay, so here's another point. You see how Prabhupada is so practical. Cow protection and agriculture, if there is excess trade. What is he saying? The main focus of this activity is to protect the cows, is to generate good food so you, your children, the deities can have powerful food. And powerful food is something that we all need. Right now we are eating from the supermarket. We don't always know what is the origin of that food. Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's organic. Organic's expensive, isn't it? So we end up buying whatever we find that fits our budget. And food is getting very contaminated these days. So Prabhupada's mission is that we supply nurture. We can give nutrition to our members. That's his thought process. This is not about making huge amounts of money with this activity. It's about making nourishment. Is it clear? So that's the first message Prabhupada is giving very clear. Oh, sorry, Prabhuji.
This is a no-profit scheme.
Okay, now here's a very important point. When you think of no profit, what do you think? It's not commercial? Good. Anything else? Money is not the center of everything. Okay, good. Any ideas about that? It's a no-loss scheme, right? It's a no profit, no loss. Okay, but sometimes non-profits enter into big loss, isn't it? Now, Red Cross. Have you heard of this entity, Red Cross? Yes. Well, every year it generates $3.2 billion. It's a non-profit. So non-profit doesn't mean it's like a poor little small entity. It can be huge. But the goal of the activity is not the profit. It has a secondary goal. And that funds which are generated is to support it, is to make it strong, is to make it active. So that's a very other important point. Because we usually think of cow protection, oh, we have to make it economically viable, so we have to make it profit. Yes, but we have to know what is the goal of that. Otherwise we'll be trying to have so many cows, sell the milk, and from the milk we increase the herd, and increasing the herd, we don't have enough manpower, and then when we see we have so many cows, we don't know what to do. Right? So, it's very important to understand what we are doing. Okay, Prabhu, last sentence.
For the agriculture, we want to produce our own food, and we want to keep cows for our own milk.
Look at that. How clear can that be? So once you have your own food, everybody who came from an Indian village know what that means. It means you don't depend on anybody. Your food is there, your house is there, your family members are there. What do you care about the world? What do you care about the World Bank? Means nothing for you. It actually, you have everything you need. And that was experienced by many of your forefathers not so long ago. They were so peaceful in that village that everybody was satisfied. You could actually see people happy because they weren't thinking about insurance, mortgage, what am I going to do if I don't get this job? What if my visa is rejected? They're not thinking about that. They're thinking, this is where I live, this is where I belong, and I have everything I need to live. Huh? Okay, Prabhu, next slide.
The whole idea is that we are ISKCON, a community to be independent from outside help.
Look at that, how beautiful that sentence is. Why is that? Because if we are a community independent from outside help, we can preach the absolute truth. We don't need to compromise because we don't depend on anybody. So the basis of that is we can nurture our own selves. If we can put nutrition from our own efforts, we don't depend on anybody, because if one day your company dismisses you, you have food, you have a house, you can go on. But if there's no food, you can't go on. So that's his wisdom. If as an institution we are providing food, nourishment, and that's independent from outside help, we'll go on. And that's his idea.
This farm project is especially for the devotees to grow their own food, cotton also, to make their own clothes, and keeping cows for milk and fatty products.
Now here he is giving the full picture, because you have to take this in small installments. First you have your food, and then you have your clothes, and then you have everything. But that may take 20 years, 30 years to get there. But you have to start thinking about it. And that's the idea. As we think about it, we start to contemplate about it and say, hey, many people in India were able to do it. Maybe today, for my life, it's very difficult to think about this, but there is some aspect of it which I might be able to do. And what is that? Okay? So we have a little video which we're going to play for you now, which was recorded by His Holiness Bhaktivikar Swami very recently, and he talks about this topic. Can I play it? Is that all right? I know you had a long day at work, and I know work is tiring.
So devotees often think that going to... Naturally, it is practical when we can...
Is it all right? Is it playing? Okay. It's number 1. You have it? Yes, that's it. You can put in the beginning. Is the volume okay?
So devotees often think that going to the farm and going to the land is not practical, but Srila Prabhupada was an extremely pragmatic person. And actually it is practical when we consider that our necessities of life are food, clothing and shelter, roti kapra makan, as the common term is there in Hindi. What are our basic necessities? Vegetables come from the soil, it comes from the earth, and the traditional cloths, cotton is the best known. Otherwise there are so many different things can be used. Jute can be used for cloth, hemp can be used for cloth, wool comes from sheep which roam the earth, and like that. Leather is also one kind of material that can be used for clothing. Not generally recommended for Vaishnavas, but can be used for shoes. It's very, very practical if you're going on a rough soil. So, but they're all grown in the earth. This jute, hemp, cotton. You can also make by going and drilling in the earth or drilling in the sea, bringing up oil, having a huge factory to process it, and then you make various polymers and make clothing out of that. But the system that God gave is that you grow, everything comes from the earth. Sarva kama dukhamahi. In the Bhagavatam it said, Srila Prabhupada often used to quote it, that all that we need is produced from the land. So Srila Prabhupada just wanted to show practically that can be done. And it just shows how far people are away from the God-given way of life that they think it's impractical to live on the land, whereas it is actually the most practical thing.
Look at that. That's a brilliant reflection, isn't it? It's very practical. But at the moment we think it's the most impractical thing because of our lifestyle. You can keep all your cards in an Apple phone wallet. I was just introduced to this device, and your air tickets, and so it seemed that it's so distant from all of us, isn't it? That this is not going to happen. Yes, you're telling this, Prabhu, but we live in a different world. These things will not happen to us. It's not coming to us. We are in a different place. If we're good, we have our house, we have our economy, it's strong. Well, but Prabhupada had a different idea. And we're going to look at a little bit what he said about this. Prabhu, can you show the video number 2? Look what happened to Brazil. You're going to listen to Prabhupada. When Prabhupada stops speaking, make a little pause, and then we'll continue the video, and I'll explain something about it. Are you ready for video number 2?
People are trying that we shall be happy by becoming materially advanced. That is called durasaya. That is hope against hope. Nothing vidu sartha gating in Vishnu. They do not know that destination of life is to attain Krishna consciousness. No, they do not know. They think by increasing motor cars we shall be happy. This is called Maya. That will not help. This motor car civilization will be finished within another 100 years.
Okay, stop, give a pause. So Prabhupada said that. Can you give a little pause? See, this is Brazil last year. Prabhupada spoke this in 670 something. There's a class, he's saying that. Look what happened in Brazil. Brazil was considered the 8th economy of the world. Look what happened in 5 days when simply one thing was put on the country. Prabhu, you can continue. Look at that. Pay attention to this. there was a strike of the drivers of the trucks. The first day, the mail stopped. The restaurants and buildings stopped. But the third day of the strike, there's no fuel for the cars. By the fourth day, so that was a wake-up call for Brazil. In 5 days, everything stopped. I was going to come to America in a few days from this strike, and I was worried if the flight would be cancelled. And the government intervened with the military, and from that, it was clear that without a massive military intervention, it could not go back to activity. We're talking of the 8th economy of the world. So we think this is very far, it would never happen, and it's something very distant, but it just happened there. And there's so many more examples. In this book, which comes from your library, called Capitalism, Communism, Cowism, there is one place here with the author talks about on the 18th of September, there was a massive economical crisis in America. And almost in that time, America was going to lose $550 billion in an afternoon. So the government had to intervene. And if that happened, the whole banking system would close. So there are many examples how the system is so fragile, but we think it's so strong. And that's the illusion. And that's how cow protection becomes something so distant, because we can't understand the connection between the cows, nature, and God. All the machine, it gives a shield. We cannot, it's so far from us, we can't really understand. But Prabhupada says that without cow protection, there is no civilization. There's no happiness, social happiness. And then in the first canto, the 17th chapter, he says that the milk is actually the liquid form of religion. Through the milk you can do sacrifice. And through sacrifice you can uplift your lives. And that's what we offer to the lordships. So the cow is extremely important in the cycle of life, in the biological sphere, in the spiritual sphere. But we are very distant, as we have just seen. And it will be very difficult for our children to understand as things become more and more distant. So what is the role of the congregation with cow protection? We tend to think, oh, they have a farm, it's their duty. But actually, in this purport, Prabhupada says that every citizen which practices Bhakti Yoga, they should have a cow as a house paraphernalia. If you have a look in the Bhagavatam 1.17.3, if you read this purport, Prabhupada says that every man should have a cow, who practices Bhakti Yoga should have a cow as household paraphernalia. But it's impossible for us. So we really should have means or systems which we can actually participate into this and make cow protection a reality where we live. Because if we don't, the chances that civilization gets more and more complicated is right there. And everything we are aspiring for does not get fulfilled. So I wanted to show you a few other points which we have presented in many places. Prabhu, can we go back to the PowerPoint? Yeah? Is that the next slide? Yeah. So in October, the ministry is holding a conference in New Vrindavan to talk about this, to get the devotees who are working on farming in North America, who get the congregation working with it. And so through that discussions and getting the congregation to establish goals, we can actually do something about it and get our children some little possibilities in the future of a more natural way of living. Because right now, the tendency is a more and more artificial way of living. And that has very serious consequences to the lifestyle, to our way of living, even to our yoga system. Yeah. So right here, as we speak, I don't know if that's the milk, it looks like. So this is one example of something that you can do. They're producing milk for the pleasure of the cow, of the deities here. So this is something practical, this is something tangible, which has been the effort of all of you. And at this conference in New Vrindavan, we're going to discuss how different temples can adopt more measures to make this really a possibility. How to treat the cows, how to have grazing systems, how to have marketing systems, how we can understand the whole cycle, and that's what we want to do. Okay, so next slide. There they're doing dairy for the deities, ghee, milk. They're doing quite well. Next one, that's Ananda Vidya doing. Eco Vrindavan is a non-profit which has already secured for the cows almost $1 million. So that is for the security of the cows. So if anything goes wrong, they have that funds. So that's another practical thing you can do. Everybody's working, everybody can start building the Seattle Capital Fund for the cows. And in the future, if anything happens, there's nobody to work, you have a capital fund to protect your cows. That's another practical thing, and they're doing really well. They are helping the ministry globally for the 4th year. I'm here because of their sponsorship, and I've been all over the world because of their sponsorship. So it's something very noble to see. Okay, next one, Prabhu. And then this comes to the power of sharing goals. Goals are very potent. If you don't have any goal, what do you have to improve? Nothing. You don't even know what to improve. Are you offering 1 liter of milk to the deities, 2 liters, 10 liters, 100 liters? You need to know. Look what happens when you have goals. A number of devotees in India invented something called Gopaton. Have you heard about that? You have? Anybody else has heard about Gopaton? Gopaton is a marathon for the Goshalas. What does it mean? Everybody on that day goes to a Goshala. And they started making campaigns, propaganda, they got the congregation involved, and look what they got. 570 people in one day visited Goshalas, did seva the whole day, Go Seva, in 9 countries, 32 states, in 46 cities. That was a small group of devotees who were inspired, and they started making campaigns, and everybody started thinking about it, which is really incredible. Now, see the power of that. How many devotees are here? 2,000? 3,000? 500. Less than 500, but you have a big number of devotees who come on Sunday feasts, friends of Krishna, right? So 450, 500 devotees. Imagine if one day you say, we have a marathon to go and do Go Seva. And everybody comes. How much service can you get done? Beds and taking care of the cows and fixing a barn. And the whole community gets involved. The spirit gets involved. The children go, they have fun. So you start to create a culture around the activity. That's the power of sharing goals. But to share a goal, you need to have a goal. So the first point is the group here needs to start developing goals in your congregation. We want to do a Gopathon. We want to increase the amount of milk offered to the deities. We want to have a capital fund for the deities. We want to support cow protection globally. We are a strong congregation. We can do that. So those are the kind of practical things you can do right now. It doesn't have to wait till the future. Okay, Prabhu, next one. You see the power of sharing goals. This is a small team in Scotland. They held a conference and they invited a member of parliament. This is Dr. Lisa Cameron, and she came to the conference, appreciated, and she issued a document by the UK Parliament. When you click on this link, I'm not sure, do you have internet here? If you click on that link, it's going to come the page of the UK Parliament, where she says that she commends the efforts. There it is. This is the UK Parliament webpage. International Society for Krishna Conscious Ministry for Cow Protection and Agriculture. That this house commends the efforts of the International Society for Krishna Conscious Ministry of Cow Protection and Agriculture, recognizes the value of this organization, provides, especially in the form of its farm conference, congratulates the conference, and this year supports the conference objectives of our great. Thank you. Of finding solutions for sustainable living and offer training in agrarian. What's that? Agrarian economy, food security and cow protection, and wishes for its continued success in these endeavors. Now, this is published by the UK Parliament. It's a huge privilege for ISKCON to have something printed by the UK Parliament. And it was not me, it was the team of Scotland who invited her, inspired her, and she all of a sudden, by her own will. Now this document opens many doors in the UK for devotees to start cow protection. It's like if you have in the Congress someone making a note about ISKCON in cow protection. So that's the power of teamwork. Okay, Prabhu, next slide, if we can go. And here's a list of other members who signed this early day motion. Okay, we've done that? Yes, power goes, yes. Let's go ahead. And here's the number of cows that you have as an ISKCON member. Our society today has around 5,000 cows, roughly. We haven't counted Seattle cows, for example. So there are other projects which needs to be included. But we have around 5,000. If you have a look, North America is counting around 3,000. So Seattle, 300, I'm sorry. If Seattle has around 20? 21? 22. So that might increase to 322. So we are still fine-tuning. But if you go to South America, only 36 cows in ISKCON. That's not so much. And the climate is beautiful for cow protection there. Right? If you go to Europe, we have 200. Russia has 122 in one farm. And Australia has 180 cows. And India has about 4,000. We haven't counted fully. It's an estimation. It's about 3,500 to 4,000. So there's a lot of work to be done. All these cows needs to be protected, registered, visited by a veterinary. Things happen, cows get sick. So we need to give a lot of support, and this is our institution. Now, next one, Prabhu. Next slide. When we compare our institution with other institutions, we are very small. Look, Patmeda is a big Goshala in India. They have 100,000 cows in one place. I think 2 places. Varshana has 50,000 cows. Even a small Goshala called Sri Krishna Goshala in Vrindavan has 8,500. And when you talk about beef cattle, like in Brazil, you're talking of 200,000 cows, 2 lakhs. That's the amount of cows they have. So ISKCON still has a long road to go, but we already have traveled some distance. And 5,000 cows, you have 22. You can imagine, it's quite a lot of work. And as a congregation of ISKCON, we need to start thinking how to show the world that we care about the cows. Next one. What is the Dharma of the cows? Here's a good question. Anybody would tell? She's our mother. You're getting very close. Let me give you a hint. She nourishes. Krishna is considered, when we call him Govinda, we say that he is the one who gives pleasure to the cows and the senses, right? Both the cows and the senses are designed to give us nourishment, isn't it? When you smell that a lovely roti is coming out of the oven, right? You're anticipating, oh, yes, isn't it? Or when your eyes see that there's a lassi or halava or whatever, or rasamalai, you say, oh, your mouth starts watering. So the senses are all preparing your body for nourishment. And the cow, she gives nourishment, isn't it? What does she do? She grazes. She's grazing everywhere. She's eating grass everywhere, right? And what are the senses doing? They're grazing the material world. Oh, I like this cell phone. I like this car. Oh, this shop is very nice, isn't it? The senses are always grazing. So they have something in common. They both nourish. They're both looking for something. Now, the cow eats grasses and she gives the most wonderful food, which is milk. Okay? So next one. Prabhupada says this. Can you read this statement of Prabhupada?
For human happiness, one must care for the animals, especially the cows.
Just a moment. So look at that. For human happiness, one must take care of the cows. So you could also say that the Dharma of the cows is to give pleasure to the humans. Right? Okay, continue.
Vasudev therefore inquired whether there was a good arrangement for the animals where Nanda Maharaj lived. For the proper pursuit of human happiness, there must be arrangements for the protection of cows. This means that there must be forest and adequate pasturing grounds full of grass and water. If the animals are happy, there will be an ample supply of milk from which human beings will benefit by deriving many milk products with which to live happily.
This is Prabhupada. This is a conversation between Vasudeva and Nanda Maharaj. And Vasudeva is asking Nanda Maharaj about the well-being of his cows. And Prabhupada in the purport explains that. So can you see, cow protection means forests. Cow protection means grazing lands. Cow protection means ample supply of water. And this will make the cows happy. So the Ministry of Cow Protection and Agriculture is trying to understand what system would generate this environment for the cows. This is one of our main meditation. Okay, Prabhu, next one. This is what we have here in Gitanagari. They're training the bulls, which is a very important aspect of cow protection. You have to train them because they represent Dharma personified. They are the emblem, the symbol of Dharma. If the bulls are engaged, Dharma is engaged, your congregation is strong. Next one. And this is one member from Gitanagari, Keshimardan, very professionally doing dairy production, and that gives them a big advantage. They can offer the milk across the state. It's very nice. Yeah. Next one. So what is the principle? What are we trying to do? We need to work with natural system instead of trying to fight against it. Modern agriculture is trying to fight against it. Cut the trees, put pesticides, fertilizers. I can control everything, and everything becomes polluted, contaminated. The environment, our health. So it's not so interesting. So next one. This is a forest. You see on the far end a forest. See, the root systems is a lot of life, energy, bacteria, a lot of micro life inside. And on the top, a lot of vegetation. So when you start cutting down the forest, you have less roots, less life, less biology, less vitamins, the food is weaker. So that's why today the Shakti, the power of the food is so limited, because there's no life under the soil. Therefore the food doesn't have that. But when you see the vegetables sold here, I went to the farm, the soil is so black and so full of worms. It's a beautiful soil. So those vegetables, just by the look of it, they look fantastic. The color, they're amazing. So there's a lot of prana, a lot of life into that. Next one. So that's a system that I'm talking about. On one side there is forest, on the middle is grazing lands. And this is called an agroforestry system. You can grow your fruits, you can grow your many trees, and then you can also have the cows grazing, and they'll graze, they'll fertilize, and they'll do their function, and both things can go side by side. Next one, Prabhu. Look at that. That's a more mature system. You have eucalyptus, and you have cows, they have shade, they have sun. This is a really conducive environment for the cows. Yeah? Next one. And then you say, okay, Prabhu, but here it's cold, we have a long winter, it's difficult to produce. This is Siberia. When you think of Siberia, what do you think about? Ice, snow. What is the name of that mountain which is here? Mount Rainier, right? Yes, you think of Mount Rainier plus beyond, right? But this gentleman, he's producing pumpkins in Siberia. How is he able to do it? He discovered that the cow dung is very hot. So putting a lot of cow dung in the soil increased 1.5 months in his growing season. So look what he did. Next picture, Prabhu. Pumpkins. He grew pumpkins in Siberia. Pumpkins, watermelons. And he produces food the whole year through greenhouses. Very interesting. Next one. Now this is Australia. Look at their Goshala. $500,000. Beautiful, very well designed. Whoever sees the Goshala can immediately see. They plan, it's very planned. Everything is organized in that Goshala. And they have a village called Krishna Village. This village, every time of the year, has 35 volunteers. They're not devotees, they're just volunteers. And they come to learn. Some of them become devotees. Some of them participate with you in the congregation. And at the end of the day, this program today generates $1 million for the project. So they have people to work and they have financial help. So it's a very intelligent setup, and I'm sure this is a trend in ISKCON. We need people to work. We don't have much labor. Here is someone who is working on the farm, and I know from him it's very difficult. He's alone many days. When the baby was born, probably this week he was there. So his reality is a very, he's looking at me and saying, yes, bro, very beautiful what you're saying, but what I live every day is very different from that. And I'm just, he's shaking his head. So my service here, Prabhu, is to tell them that they can help you and that we can bring outside help. People want it. Seattle is a hub. People want to come here. You work 5 days, 2 days you go, do whatever you want, then you come back. And like this, you can attract many volunteers. They have mastered the science of this. Next one. They are doing syntropic agriculture. Syn means with, tropy, with nature. Syntropy, you go with nature. Entropy, you go against nature. One example, you take petrol, put on your car, right? After you came to the temple, that petrol finished. Never comes back again. It's gone. Now, if you put a seed on the ground of corn, it will generate how many seeds? Maybe even thousands, or maybe hundreds of thousands, depending on if the many corns. So, from one, so many. And you take another one, put on the ground, another so many. Syntropy, with life. Entropy, against life. So when we make holes in the earth, take oil, transform into gasoline, plastic, put it on our house, this is entropic. And by entropy, it's always finishing. So we have a fear it's going to finish. So we don't become generous. Because it will finish. If I don't keep in my house, when you get your salary, it doesn't give you a feeling in the heart, oh, I got so many dollar bills, let me start distributing. I have to give it. No, because that's entropic. That will finish. Now, when you have pumpkins on your field, if you don't give it, they go rot, they go bad. So sometimes a big work for the farmer is just to give. If he can't sell it, he has to give it. Because the nature is syntropic. It's abundant. So just catch that point, that sometimes we don't realize the energy we touch influences us. So when we're touching entropic energy, we ourselves become entropic. You don't talk to your neighbors much, there's no time, your machines eat up your time, isn't it? You have to go to work, it's all very expensive to live here, to live everything. Everything is machines, you don't talk to people, you talk to a machine. And like this, all this is entropic. Syntropic means there is time, there's abundance, everything is flourishing, I can share and I won't lose anything. So Prabhupada's mind was to become syntropic, produce abundance. And then when people come here, we are so abundant we can give, no problem, you take it. Take this knowledge, take some prasadam, take whatever you like. Because we are syntropic people. We understand that life is abundant, comes from God, comes from Krishna, and I can share it. And anybody who comes becomes immediately in love with your system. I can give a testimony. At one point, there was a flood where I live in Sri Mayapur Dham for the last 10 years. And my family was going back to Mayapur. And at the airport, we got a call. Mayapur is going to flood. The Ganga is going to go up. And I was, what? my family is going to travel today. So immediately we phoned Govardhan Eco Village. And our friends there said, no problem. They can stay in the guest house. They didn't ask for 1 penny. They provided a car for my family to go to the hospital, to go to this place, that place. And at the end, my family felt so indebted that they said, no, if you want, you give a donation at the end. That we felt indebted. We said, we have to give something, because that's a syntropic way of thinking. If it's entropic, some places you go say, okay, pay this much at the entrance. It's already like you already feel, okay, I've paid, I've done my business, finished. So here in Seattle, I was received in a syntropic way. I was received by this family, who was the most syntropic family. They opened their houses, they fed me. This young gentleman here became my assistant pujari every morning. And it was so exciting to be there and share with him. Because every morning he would be, is it puja time? And you go get flowers, cut the fruits, get the plate ready. So that's, you become indebted. You feel like, oh, I have a lot of gratitude. So I have a lot of gratitude for your congregation, because I can feel some syntropic movements coming out. And that's very nice. I can see how you're giving free food on your free food van. I was in the festival, and I could see how people feel happy with that. And people are receiving spices and aromatherapy for free, and they become very much captivated. Yes? So that's a very important principle. Next one, Prabhu. So this is Ernest Gitt. He's a famous person today. 1 day of, if you want to bring him here, you have to pay $2,000 for 1 day of his participation. But his student is in Australia, Tiago. He's not so famous. So he's working with us. He's helping us to build this system. He's coming to Ecuador to teach Hare Krishna farm. Slowly we're getting there. Next one.
So what are they teaching?
Oh, go back one. This is the forest system I just mentioned to you. The forest making abundance. He can teach that. He transformed 2,400 acres of land which was completely finished, exhausted, in the most abundant forest. And he got a prize from the Brazilian government for being one of the most... Not only that, from these 2,400 acres, he makes his living, abundant living, from 20 acres. He makes cocoa, chocolate. And his chocolate is considered one of the top chocolates of the world. Just by the way he produces. And he has no financial problems, only with that. 20 acres. From 2,400, he just needs 20 to make his livelihood successful. Next one. Now this is Alan Savory. Some of you might have heard about holistic management. He basically says that if you put the cows together for some time, they eat just the right amount of grass. And their dung, their urine, and their trampling fertilizes the soil very much. So you don't need a tractor, you don't need anything much, you just need that system. And he has proven a lot of that. So we are trying to combine syntropic and holistic. That's one of our attempts. Let's go to the next one. Here is what it looks like. You divide the farm in different areas, cell 1, cell 2, each cell for 4 days, 3 days, 2 days. And after the cows have grazed a certain amount, right, that field rests and the grass grows again. And by that system, the cows always have the most nutritious grass, the very fresh tips. That's what they love. That green, fresh grass, they get crazy because it's very nutritious. So we are trying to develop that system. Hare Krishna, welcome. Swagatam. Next one. Now, you may say, we are in a temple, we can't do much. This is Ypsilanti temple. They are growing greens in their basement with artificial lights and so. All the Sunday feast comes from this system. They bring out and they grow, and they give to the neighbors, to the guests. And it's a wonderful system. It's a sprouting system. They give little packets for you at home. You can grow, you can sprout, and everybody gets excited. And it's an interesting way to say that. Okay? Next one. They also do vertical gardens. You have deer problems here. You can do vertical gardens. They don't reach, they can't eat. It's high. And you can use your temple here. There's a lot of space. Can you imagine if every day there is one wall which belongs to his congregation? So his Bhakti Vriksha has to take care. The next day it's your congregation. And like this, all the groups come and take care of flowers for the deities, and then they come harvest and bring to the deities. Simple as that. You can do this tomorrow. You don't have to wait for a revolution. It's right there. All you need is a go. Let's do this. And then it happens. Next one, Prabhu. And then I see you doing a little eco-village blueprint for the homeless here. The same eco-village can be for you also. You don't need just have... You can have a little place where you have like little houses and a school and a farm all together. And instead of driving to school, everybody's in the same place. It's already happening here. I saw that many neighborhoods have a lot of devotees. All it's missing is a place for a farm, a place for a school. So if you plan ahead, maybe with these new developments, you may be able to make such a thing here. So many, devotees with financial potential, you could actually think about it. Hey, let's make a community where you have a school, where you have a farm, we have businesses here, we don't have to go out for our businesses. There is one place in Atlanta, Serembi. If you look in the internet, Serembi. They have 33 businesses inside the housing complex. Yoga studio, hotel, entertainment, food stores, food restaurants. And people don't have to go out to live. They live there, they work from there. So these are the kind of solutions for your children. You may be thinking, let him be an IT. That's one option. Another option, he lives in a place where he can educate his children right there, and everything can be very syntropic. Okay, Prabhu, next one, please. I think it's our last slide. So, if you look at our timeline, I was in Canada before I came here. They had a farmers' conference. And we are going to go to New Vrindavan in October. That's a farm conference. I'm here inviting some of you to come to New Vrindavan and see what can be done, what kind of plans you can make in your congregation, start a department with your own congregation, and it can be very exciting. And you can meet other devotees and make plans. Okay? By January 2020, Canada is trying to make an ahimsa dairy. Do you know why? In Canada, you cannot have ahimsa dairy. Why? What are you saying, Prabhu? You can only have dairy in Canada if you're registered. To be registered, you need to have 10 kilograms of fat every day. Means 200 liters of milk. 200 liters of milk means a big number of cows. Okay? Maybe at least you need 100 cows, because a lot of them are bulls. Many of them don't give milk, they're dry, so the herd becomes very big. So you need a lot of land. Because you don't have a lot of land, it's very expensive, what do you have to do? You have to kill your cows. You have to send them to the slaughterhouse. So in Canada, it's extremely difficult. Plus, if you're registered, your milk goes to a central dairy, it's mixed with all the other milks, and then it's redistributed. So it's impossible to have the ahimsa milk. So these devotees are trying to get, with the government, some permission. So that's the project they're trying to do. It's quite, yeah? And then in 2020, they want to host all the North American devotees to have a farm kind of conference meeting. We're planning that, so that might be. Okay, I think I have the last slide. Yeah, it's going to be October 4 to 6 in New Vrindavan. So there's an open invitation. And I have 2 more videos, but instead of playing them, maybe we could have some questions quickly. I'm not sure what's the time of the class. What time should I finish? I wasn't informed. It's already 1 hour. It's finished? Okay, so we can have some. Would you like to have some questions? Some reflections? Some corrections? Anybody has a question? Has a comment? There's a question at the back. Muli, can you take the microphone for him? Okay. And all the wireless mics are in the farm because they were in the festival.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
One situation about cows is in our farms. Well, this is a question. What happened to our cows when they stop producing milk?
Oh, very good.
It's not just the protection we give to them, but the responsibility and, the burden it creates, if you will. So our farms or our system has the capacity to deal with this kind of situation, because a cow, practically speaking, she stops giving milk at 13 years old, and she lives for 25 years. So that means we are talking about 7+ years of just being there. Yes. So what is the situation with this?
Very good question. He's asking, what happens to the cows which are retiring? Just like you may ask, what happens to me when I retire? Do I have a pension from the government? Do I have to be kicked out and live under IFI in a cardboard box? Or do I have to join the village, the homeless village? Well, it's a very good question, and I tell you there's a definite answer to that. The Indian government is investing millions of dollars to solve that point. Tirupati Tirumala Foundation has invested $35 million in this research. And what is the research? If you prove to a farmer that the cow is more profitable alive than dead, you got your point. And how are they doing? They made a substance to clean the floor, the grounds, a neem oil, which is basically made of cow urine and other products, and that is worth 60 rupees, $1. Around $1, less than $1. Milk in India is worth 60 cents, 55 cents of $1. So, here the milk is worth less than the urine. So, they're trying to give products for the farmers which give the farmer economy ability to maintain his cows. That's one. Another, the cow dung. A whole lot of products is being trying to be processed from cow dung. The traditional ones are fire, you cook with it, you build with it, you fertilize with it. You're using fertilizer. That's you're using that farm. That's really good. And finally, the Goshala, for us here in the West, we have to understand that this is part of our responsibility. It's a congregation responsibility. And what is that? We should have a Goshala, a retirement place for cows. And when someone retires, everybody contributes. So if you can't have a cow in your house, you can contribute for a Goshala. You give a monthly donation to protect those cows which are there. And those cows which are in a Goshala can be here or can be in a land a little more distant, which is cheaper. They just need to graze. Now, if we understand the grazing systems I showed, then you can have forestry and grazing land. There's some economic activity there. So it's a question of developing the systems. But the Gosadan is the answer to your question. And it's not a responsibility only of the farmer. It's a whole society responsibility. Just like retirement of people is responsibility of the government. It's not that I contribute, but at one point I can have the benefit. So the same we have to think about the cows. So that's the Gosadan. And for the bulls, it didn't make the bulls is the same, because once you have a bull, what you're going to do with it? Isn't it? So the bulls, you should engage them. You should put them in places where they can be engaged. And when they're engaged, they are a source of great economy. And you may think, it's very theoretical. In Hungary they're doing, the video shows that. We may have time, I can show you that. So these are two things which you are putting together. Goshala, Gosadan, Nandishala. But there are three different aspects. Needs to be separated and funded separately. And then we have a chance. Because otherwise you end up with so many cows, you can't really take care. And just him, it's one person. So he really needs to start thinking how to attract more people to help, how the congregation can support it more, and how it can become a feasible activity. Yeah? Does that answer your question? Okay, good. There's another question behind you.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, thanks for the wonderful class. So my question more of, do we have any papers or any, like in India, there are some parts of the country where we don't have much water. There's a scarcity of water. And forests, probably cannot think of a forest now. So in those situations, is there any like ISKCON projects, other projects have done that, okay, maybe this you may need optimal this much water versus abundant. Do you have any thoughts on it?
ISKCON doesn't, but the world does. Israel. Look at Israel. They converted salt water into irrigation. They've become one of the biggest irrigation projects. So they sell irrigation systems to the world. There is a NGO called Worldwide Forestry System. They have, specifically for India, fodder trees resistant to droughts, which you prune and you feed the cattle. So there are many solutions. Solutions abundant. It's a question of us, ISKCON, putting our minds and capturing that. The solutions are already developed. So many times, so many, it's a huge amount of information. And you can transform a very dry land into fertile land. It's possible. It gives some work. China is doing a lot. You know, there are many countries doing that. And simply by adding cow dung, biomass, and putting water, you need the water. So the water has to come either from wells or from the rain or from the sea, someplace. Once you put the water in a sustainable way, it's possible. Okay? Great. A question right there. Maybe you have to speak loud and I'll repeat. The microphone won't go. You want to come? You can come. You can come. You can come and get the microphone. You can cross. It's all right. They're peaceful. Hare Krishna.
So I have two questions. One is, have you seen any biogas implementations in ISKCON projects? Because we have big Goshalas. And another question is, with Jersey cows, like I have heard in India, even my mother-in-law and my grandmother saying that they are not really cows. So is it true?
Very good question. Very good two questions. Your first question is wonderful. Biogas is something which can solve a lot of problems, and it's part of the solution that this temple is trying to give for the homeless. In India, Govardhan Eco Village has a beautiful functional biogas unit. About 35% of their cooking comes from biogas. And the other part comes from wood, but they found a huge system which is a long tube which consumes about 1/3 of the wood, a normal firewood. So they boil water and the water cooks. So like this is very ecological. So we tend to think, oh, biogas, a little gas. No, no. Biogas can supply even a center like Govardhan Eco Village. That's your first question. There are many examples. In Florida, there's a university research. In India, there are many examples, hundreds of papers. There is huge biogas, the size of this room. There's house biogas, that's very small, different sizes. And actually, the government of India is investing quite much in this. Your second question is very interesting. The question is, are Jersey cows cows? Or are they pigs, yaks, descendants of yaks, etc.? That's the question. Very recently, His Holiness Bhakti Swami has shown a video, and the title of the video on YouTube, Are Western Cows Really Cows? If you look at that title, you'll see the full lecture. And what you saw today was part of that lecture. And what he says is, Prabhupada never made that distinction. Prabhupada used the milk. His first cow, called Kalia, was a cow which was blind from one eye. She was a mixture of different breeds, and Prabhupada loved Kalia. At one point he came back and they said, Prabhupada, do you know who this is? Of course, my friend Kalia. Prabhupada knew her very well. Prabhupada, many times, he had brown Swiss milk, and this is the best milk of the world. And Prabhupada actually wanted to take the Western cows to India. Now, what you're referring to is something which happened in India. It was called the White Revolution. The Indian government at that time thought, let's increase the milk production in India, and they brought the Western cows, mainly the Jersey cow, in a very big, massive scale. And that's a very bad thing to do, because you have the local breeds which are very beautiful, which are medicinal, which have fantastic properties, and you despise that and you bring an outside cow to now populate. And what happens is people start to forget these beautiful breeds, like the Gir, like the Concrage, like the Nellore, the Ongol. There's so many beautiful breeds, Tarparka. And they have, each one has a very specific role. If you remember Krishna's pastime, he was robbing makan from the gopis. You remember that? And his mother, what did he do? She got a special cow, and she gave a special grass, so the milk would be special, so Krishna would not rob the makan from the gopis anymore. So even among the Deshi cows, there's a variation. We call Deshi cows, I mean just indigenous cows. Some of them are more special than others. And the cow which was brought to India was the Jersey. So naturally, to stop that invasion, it was created the idea that the Jersey cows are actually not cows. They're descendants of yaks, they're descendants of pigs, they're crossbred. And if you talk to an Indian person, he thinks Jersey cows is, any Western cows is Jersey. He thinks a Jersey is a Jersey, a Holstein is a Jersey. They think brown Swiss is a Jersey, which is not true. They're very different cows. The brown Swiss is an indigenous cows from Switzerland, and it's a A2 milk. The Guernsey is also very golden milk, as you have it here. Very good milk. Prabhupada liked that milk. So what we're dealing with is a little bit of nationalism. And I can give you a parallel. By the time the Mongols invaded India, right, there was no real threat, because the Mongolian people, they invaded, but they respected the culture. You could have your culture. That's not a problem. When the British came, there was a threat. What is the threat? They wanted to infiltrate the education system and say, your culture is a primitive culture. And our culture, the British culture, the white culture, is the real culture. And by doing that, they're trying to destroy the whole system. So the whole India became very concerned about this. And they started something like this. Anybody who lived on the other side of the river Sindhu, called Hindu by the Persians, they couldn't say S, they said Hindu, became a Hindu. Now, if you look at what a Hindu means, there are people who are pantheists, they worship anything. A rock, God, a rock can be God, a tree can be God. There are people who worship Lord Shiva, the Shaivites. There are people who worship Ganesh, a different group. There are people who work nothing, just energy, the impersonalists. There are people who worship Radha and Krishna, the Vaishnavas. Everybody is put on the same pot as Vaishnavas. As Hindus. So the word Hindu doesn't exist, but it was used to protect the culture. Okay? So with the jersey, it was the same. And it's been, the attempt is to show that there is unit, they should protect the cows. But Prabhupada, Jai. Shri Gaurnitai ki Jai. Radha Govinda ji ki Jai. Right? So Prabhupada, he was beyond any bodily conception. He says, you're not from America, not from India, not from Israel, you're a spirit soul, eternal. That's his message. And he's consistent with that. He does not make distinction among humans, among animals, among anybody. Right? And if they're not cows, then he would not say cow protection in the West. He'll say pig protection, yak protection. But he said cow protection. So, for him, the Western cows are also cows. Question?
Any comment on the buffaloes?
Buffaloes. What do you want to know about the buffaloes?
They serve similar and parallel function as milk, nourishing and fertilizing. Usually cannot drink their urine. But they are used like cows even in Vrindavan.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yes. The buffaloes proliferated very much in India because you could kill them. When I was in India at the age of 12, in Hyderabad, 1981, my parents were not vegetarians and you could buy meat, but it was buffalo milk, meat. It was not cow, usually it was buffalo. So you could kill. So people would keep buffaloes because they could kill. Now, once they realized the buffalo milk is very rich, it's very dense, and it's worth more, people start switching to buffaloes. And then you start eliminating the cows. So people concluded that buffalo is bad. Buffalo equals ignorance. Buffalo equals bad, right? But if you have a look in a little book called Braj Vilas Stava by Raghunath Das Goswami, he says, he describes the personalities of Vrindavan. And one of the personalities called Upananda, Krishna's uncle. And what did he do? He kept buffaloes for Krishna's pleasure. So Upananda was keeping buffaloes. But why was he keeping buffaloes? Because they're very good yogurt, and Krishna likes it. So when you make the yogurt of the buffalo, it's all right. That's accepted by Krishna. But the milk is not all right. Do you understand? That's it. Yeah. One more comment or question or doubt or...
the question is, the cow protection is one of the most struggling aspects of what Prabhupada requested or asked and were not able to fulfill. So, Prabhuji, the question is, the cow protection and agriculture is one of the most difficult to implement projects in ISKCON that Prabhupada has asked us to do. Other things are taking shape very quickly, relatively speaking. So there must be some fundamental challenges in it, and that's labor availability and whole ecosystem, and it's a long-term view. It is not a short-term view. So as a ministry, what do you recommend? I mean, the whole class was about the recommendation. What do you recommend as individuals to do beyond the temple projects?
Fantastic. I will answer your question, and then I'll ask my faithful, loyal friend controlling the computers at the back. We'll go to video number 3 after I finish, which is one congregation leader very close to ISKCON Silicon Valley answering part of your question. What is the congregation thinking in those terms? And my simple question to you is, what is our recommendation to all of you? When you think about ecosystems, you think about being very close to Krishna's law. When all of you have been in a mountainside, in a forest, or even in the urban farm, we were sitting on the garden, speaking about Krishna, about the cows. It was so pleasant. Everybody said, wow, this is so nice. The breeze and the day was pleasant. You can just feel it. Why is that? Because you're very close to Krishna's law, nature's law. So the more we are close to that, the better we are in terms of our chakras, our energies, our thinking process, our sharing mood, our disposition to hear Krishna Katha. So that is, what is the challenge? We are very much facilitated by the machine world. Everything is a machine. To dry your clothes is a machine, to wash your clothes is a machine, to wash your dishes is a machine. Everything is becoming... There's a Tesla car, right? And I just heard today, if you put the password 3 times wrong, the car will lock itself and you can't enter your car anymore. This is how complex things are getting, you know? And you have to go home, what do I do now? I can't open my car. So technology is so entangling these days that you have to really strive for it. So the recommendation is simple. Wherever you are, it doesn't matter. What is the goal? The goal is to have flower pots around the temple. Let's do it. The next goal, it leads to the next goal. Let's have more produce. There are so many houses with empty gardens around here, and I'm looking at the owner of one. He could be producing massive quantities of food. He could be feeding his family, the whole temple, and making a lot of money from that. Right? So that's another goal. Okay, we have volunteers, people are interested. We go there, we do farming together. It doesn't have to be only you. You can have the whole team working with you. Can be a goal. Let's make a Gopathon. And then let's make our capital fund. So it builds up to having a vision for Seattle. It's not only the leader's vision, but it's your vision, the vision that you imbibe, that you think it's my vision too. For my children, I'd like them to have this. And why is it important? Because when you protect the cows and they're happy, you produce happiness for society. And that happiness and abundance is what Prabhupada is talking about in the practice of bhakti. And that's what a village in India is, abundant. There's time, there's food, there's friendship, there's sharing, everything is there. Everybody who came from a village knows what I'm talking about. It's very different from the Seattle airport. No time, everything is paid, everything is fast. There's not even almost no sitting chairs, just enough. But anyhow, the point is, if we understand that cow protection is part of our Sankirtan mission, and without it, the world will be in trouble because the cow is central to the breathing of the planet. The cows represent the powerhouse of energy for the planet. The cow gives nourishment and gives dharma. The cow is the carrier of dharma. She conduces dharma. So if you have an issue with the cow, you have an issue with dharma. And we are dharmic people. We are pious people. We follow a system of dharmic laws. We're truthful. Just like the story of Bahulavan, of the cow who was very truthful. She was attacked by a tiger and she said, wait a moment, I need to feed my calf, but I promise that I'll feed my calf and I'll come back to be your food. And she was truthful. She went, she fed her calf, explained the situation, and a Brahman, just by seeing her truthfulness, said, what? I'm going with you. You're not going to go alone. Same thing with the calf. So the 3 of them come up. And by the truthfulness, what happens? The dharmic Krishna manifests. And Krishna talks to the tiger and says, she is the most noble creature, the cow. If you let her go, you'll be glorious. And the tiger reasons, and he says, all right, I accept that. So truthfulness is extremely important dharmic process. And if you go against the cows, you're hitting one of those legs, and the truthfulness at one point becomes affected. So, finalizing my advice, goals. Having goals. Clear goals. Leading to bigger goals. Leading to a department. leading to congregation engagement, discussions, congregation action, finance, mobilization, activity, increasing volunteers, giving more labor for the people who are on the ground so they can work better, funding people who are on the ground. That's really important. Because usually we think, oh, it's devotional service, he can live from that. But thinking, no, he needs a decent living. If he has a decent living, he won't go to another place, he will stay. Just like all of us have decent livings in our jobs, these persons also need that. So those are the steps in the vision which go. Having a clear vision, what you want for your deities, what you want to offer your lordships, or that you come every day to honor, what quality of ingredients you want to offer your lordships, what quality of ingredients you want to offer your children, what you want for the future of this congregation. Are you going to go with this industrialization wave, and that's the vision? Or are you going to produce something different which will attract people? Wow, these people are awesome. They're real. They are alive. They have energy. Their food is real. Their life is real. So that's what could be part of the vision. Is that all right? And we have a video from okay?
This is a question regarding buttermilk
Okay.
versus curd.
Okay.
We are in a situation here where temporarily the production is down, the milk is down. We have a lot at once. So help us understand buttermilk, of course, will stretch longer, right? It allows to stretch that supply longer. Help us understand the difference and properties of each.
Sure. I don't know that much Ayurveda to tell you a complete answer, but I know that for me, I have disorder in Vata. I'm advised to take buttermilk, not curd, not yogurt. Yogurt is heating, buttermilk is cooling. In terms of the production of it, how much, of course, buttermilk could have a lot more. It could be a lot more, you could develop a lot more. But each one, if you have a look, has a specific function. In the Panchagavya, every ingredient has a function. The ghee has a function, the yogurt has a function, the gomutra has a function, the cow dung has a function, and the milk has a function. Everybody has a function. So the proper balance is what Krishna prescribes. And I wouldn't recommend going fully on one just because of economy, because you end up like the buffalo milk. Because of economy, they just gear towards buffalo milk and they miss the point. You know? So it's a balanced equation which gives you a balanced structure to live from. That's...
At the moment, I think there are a lot of cows that are about to give birth.
Yes.
So we have lower supply.
Yes, yes. It's a lower supply. You're right. You're right about that. Yes. And that's another... And that's another interesting point you're bringing, which is supply. Because you see, all the cows are pregnant, so all the milk will come at once. So if you scale that, the milk is coming in different stages, so also your population is growing in different stages. So you can plan that. So the more you plan, the better your system is. Everybody here works in IT department, you know that, right? Management system is about managing very precisely. So the cow protection needs to be like that. Yes?
Based on I heard some projects have started in the past also, but some are not sustained because of various reasons. So like say, there is one fear of any individual wants to do, the fear that there may be initial enthusiasm, so there could be a lot of consequences. So what is the few things based on previous projects, not sustained projects, one should be aware of before jumping?
He's asking what are the main elements that you should be aware of starting a cow protection program based on the failures of the past, isn't it? Well, the first one is, how many of you are ready to right now start to work on the farm, joining our friend over there? Who wants to sign up? One. Ready to go tomorrow, full time? He doesn't have a job, he can go. Ready to go tomorrow and live on the farm? Yes, we have two, that's good. Who else? You ready to go and live on the farm? No. All right. He's not saying. So we got 2. That's a good start. It's a brilliant start. But you can see the difficulty. If you consider the whole congregation, the ones who are online, they might also not vote for going there. So very few people are inclined to go in the sun, do the hard work. It's a lot of work. So that's number 1. You have to know that. And some people rebel, say, oh, it's everybody now, it's in a different mode. No, that's the way it is. You have to accept it. Now you have to work with those who are willing and can and in a good moment. Second thing, we didn't facilitate them. We didn't pay enough. We didn't provide a good housing. We didn't a lifestyle, a vision of a lifestyle. If you do this for life, no problem, Prabhu, your life is guaranteed. So, no issues. I can do this. Point number 2. So that's the labor issue. Point number 3. The whole world is going towards Balaji visa in India, isn't it? India is trying to get a visa to come to America. You are here. You got your Balaji visa or your visa. And you're working here, right? So you were not thinking of going back to the village, were you? Otherwise you have gone back to the village. You had to come here, do your work, which is good. But the whole world is thinking like this. We need a job, we need a better house, a better situation. So the whole trend of the world is against this. That's why it's so challenging. So that's aptitude is less. And number three, the vision. Why are we doing this? And how are we going to structure it? And within that topic you could list many points. For example, if you grow your herd very fast, it becomes very expensive very fast. Winter, feed, labor intensive, you can't control, the cleanliness, the veterinarian support, he knows what I'm talking about. It's a huge list of things that you have to do. It becomes out of hand. That has happened in the past many times. If you don't have enough financial support to the product, it's a problem. If you don't have enough expertise, specific ones, like for example, what is the right time for breeding? Right now we have a problem with the bull. He has a split lip, isn't it? Has to be stitched or has some kind of surgery has to be done. So all of these are very specific knowledge required activities. So we need to invest. We need to make investments, not just, it will work out. The more we do workouts, you're in an IT company, the IT companies don't work like that. Everything is paka, is written, is registered, isn't it? Have documents, reports. And we think cow protection is a little spontaneous. I like it, I do it, it happens. It's not like that. You can do it, but the result will come. You find yourself in situations which are difficult. So, to resume my recommendation to you, it is to know where you can get labor from, to get experts which understand the field, to finance the ones who are doing it, and to have a financial backup to do cow protection. Because the whole world is designed not to protect the cows. It's designed just to take the milk, finish the milk. Your mother can go to the slaughterhouse, not a problem. And we accept that. We go to the store, we buy the milk, we accept that. We have to change our minds. Look, I'm doing this, but I have to do something more. I can't stay there. Prabhupada, he accepted store milk, but he was working very hard to establish milk from protected cows. At one point, one farm had 1,000 liters per day. But they didn't have backup, financial backup, technical support, so they failed. That was one. But now they're paying $20 per gallon, so you have a lot of financial backup. People are more aware. So there's a great opportunity to evolve and to do something very professional, very paka. Is that okay? Well, since the time is over time, you want to see the video? You sure? Okay. So this is Damodar Vamsidhari Prabhu.
Damodar Vamsidhari Das. I am board of director.
Volume.
And CFO for ISKCON of Silicon Valley. Thank you so much, Kalakantha Prabhu, for allowing
Volume,
me
Prabhu.
to create this video presentation. I apologize I could not be there in person because there are some commitments here. At ISV, we are there to support distribution of Srila Prabhupada's book. A lot of information Srila Prabhupada has left for cow protection, agriculture, and when he formed the society, International Society for Krishna Consciousness, Prabhupada, as he was living, he was focusing us on living on the land, depending more on cow and cow products. And at ISV, whatever Srila Prabhupada left in audio lectures, in books, we take it very, very seriously. Very happy to say that we already have a cow at ISV named Surabhi, and that project has been running for over 3 years. While various things are going on, we are working with inter-department collaborations, where, say, for example, our book distributors who are going on preaching also talk with the people who they are meeting about Krishna and what are the activities Krishna is doing, which is, tending cows, and all the other things. And here at ISV, we are still figuring it out, a team for cow protection and, how do we actually get organic agricultural based products for our deities. And there is still a lot of things to be covered, but the leadership team here is very motivated to bring all those things, connect a farm to the city temple, and we are making solid progress on that aspect. Our devotees are very much encouraged to use Ahimsa products. I can give the example of our deity department. Anything to do with Mangalarti sweets, Rajbhog, all that is prepared in Ahimsa products. And but there are others, say Sunday feast and Saturday morning program feast, that still doesn't fully uses the Ahimsa products, but there is a push by the department for the cooks to encourage using of Ahimsa product. Now, the idea is that when devotees come and see the high standards at temple, they will be able to do it at their home also. That brings up to the next point on the planning of how do we actually bring up the economics of making the products more available and economical. And we are working various strategies on how to make it available to our congregation. Again, it is a lot of things to be done, and hopefully in next 2 to 3 months we will be coming with a vision of 2020. How do we see ourselves when we are saying cow protection? Does bull protection also forms cow protection? We strongly believe it is the case. We are also trying to put together that how our flowers which are coming to the deities are coming, they are more fragrant, they are more fresh. How can we actually encourage the local flower producers to get attached with the temple? They should feel pride that the flowers they are growing are getting into the neck and shoulders of our deities. So these are some of the things we want to encourage everyone to embrace more and more of cow protection, bull protection, as well as living on land. And we have still a lot of things to do, but our management is fully behind it. Also, we are trying to solve the education related things, like there is recent trend of what about A1 versus A2, and we want to go strictly with what Srila Prabhupada has been teaching us, that he didn't differentiate it on A1, A2 milk, and same is the stance which ISP is also taking. We are working on kind of putting a whole structure around it and working closely with His Grace Kalakantha Prabhu and other departments within ISKCON GBC to formulate which is acceptable at all ISKCON centers and be a role model for overall ISKCON in North America, in which cow protection, living on land, and other theories of Srila Prabhupada are actually modeled in our center to be embraced and used by all other centers in North America. Thank you so much. I again apologize for missing attending it personally. My respectful obeisances to all of you. Hare Krishna. Dandavat Pranams.
Hare Krishna. Dandavat Pranam. So I just wanted to share this with you to show they have a vision, they're working towards the vision. That's my recommendation. So many points can be added. We are over time, but okay. 3 more minutes, okay.
Yeah, so here Haridas Maharaj had a vision.
Uh-huh.
As per that he started with one endeavor with another devotee in Redmond, and then last year we acquired the farm in the Avon. So he has a vision, he's building, and he says he wants to grow to 500. So between the talk and actually work, I'm saying, like, where are we? Based on you moved to various temples, you've seen it. Where do we stand? Are we still in the nascent state, or we are doing something already good?
Great. So you're asking for feedback from the Ministry of Cow Protection and Agriculture, right? Okay. So I'm still formulating a final assessment. I've talked to many devotees. I visit both farms. I've talked to Harivilas Maharaj himself, and he's given a lot of his visions. He's given his pamphlets. And I say that you're doing good, because both farms, they have a lot of activity. He understands fertility of the soil. That's really good. The locations are very well chosen, both locations. I see that there's a great potential in both locations for a clinic, Ayurvedic clinic. You know, there's a lot of potential to be worked out like that. And I would say that the next step is what they're doing. Congregation involvement, that the whole congregation has a shared vision. What is it for us in 2020? How do we see us in cow? How many cows we have? Is it a new farm with a whole dairy, 100 cows? So how many people working? Where are they coming from? Are we going to import everyone from India? What if the government says no? We have to have backup plans. So for me, our recommendation, the ministry is very good vision, very good boost, very strong congregation behind it. The congregation needs to buy that vision, develop a department, and that department has the mission to, within the congregation, do what I'm doing here on a frequent basis. Discussing, bringing up ideas, churning, connecting, coming to the conference in New Vrindavan, sharing with other devotees, and that's really great because you learn a lot. The people from Australia are coming all the way to teach us how to get volunteers. They're traveling, they're going to present. It's going to be the 50th anniversary of cow protection. And Chandramauli Swami, Krishna Kshetra Swami will be there. We hope, we can invite His Holiness Radhanath Swami, but he has a busy schedule. We are attempting that too also. All right? There was a last question at the very far back. Is it a quick question? Is it a myth that A1 milk is bad for you? Well, I can tell you a quick thing on that. The people who developed the theory in New Zealand, they're in court right now. The reasons why they're in court, there are various reasons. One is the dairy industry is angry with them, but their argument is the scientific evidence has not been thoroughly done. So they promoted it very strongly. It was very interesting for some groups. They cut it, they promoted, but actually if you look at the scientific evidence, it is still under process. And you know how scientific evidence, today I prove something, tomorrow you pay something, you prove the contrary, and like this, like lobbies and yeah. So Prabhupada, as he said, didn't make a distinction as such.
Was the A1, A2 knowledge available during Prabhupada's era?
That's a very good question. Was it available at that time? That question could actually be a very bigger question. Was Prabhupada aware of, for example, that there's a global warming in the planet?
A1, A2, was this...
But extend that question to the different areas. Like, actually, Prabhupada, he takes Shastra, which is eternal, and he diagnoses the situations. All that is happening is that the modes are changing of material nature, and a specific topic become popular. Like in the past was the greenhouse effect. Today it's kind of an old past discussion. There was the Cold War. It's kind of, well, who talks about the Cold War anymore? It's a different war. So the modes are changing. Now it's the time of the vegans, the A1, A2. That's the modes. So Prabhupada had a vision beyond the modes. So there is some possibility of evidence, but we are not looking at, okay, I'm making experiments of A1 cows. In which environment? I go to industrial farm, which they are fed pesticides through the grass, they fed all kind of, they don't even have space to walk. And then I test that milk and I conclude. So where was my experiment made? Was it made in a natural environment where all the cows had the same treatments? Or is it like, for these cows, I make a test, for that cow, I make another test. So all of these are things to be discussed. I'm not concluding one or the other. I'm just saying, Prabhupada didn't make a distinction in our vision because he was looking beyond the modes. And the modes now, nobody talked about A1, A2 20 years ago. There was not. And I'm sure that in another 10 years it's kind of going to be gone. But if you look at the properties of the indigenous cows, that's very long, very old knowledge. You see, Ayurveda talks about specific property, and that doesn't change with the modes. So that's something to contemplate. Prabhupada, he had a very, very important vision. We are here in the material world. It's a place that's not very pleasant. It's old age, disease, death. And we have to be very serious about going back to Godhead. And there, all the cows have excellent milk. There's no cow with bad milk. And buffalo, goats, all go with Krishna to the forest, no problem. They're all there. All right? Okay, I think I'll call it an end today by saying a big thank you to all of you. I was really well received here by so many devotees, and I really appreciated it. And I'm really happy, and I hope and I pray that by Krishna's mercy, in reciprocation to your efforts to please Him through protecting the cows, worshipping Him, all this yatra become ever more prosperous and opulent and syntropic. All right? So thank you very much. Hare Krishna, Gaura Premanandi, Srila Prabhupada Ki.